Good morning. It's time for the North Carolina Vinyl Picker Show. And on this episode, we're going back in time, way back, 1977. I had already been out of high school. I had moved to Florida. I moved back to New Jersey. And I went in the Navy. And ended up in Great Lakes. I was up in Great Lakes for the Navy. Had a great time up there in boot camp, Ended up in San Diego for school, where I got to see ELP, Frampton, and some other bands, some great bands. Peter Wolf, I believe, and Jay Giles opened for Frampton. Baltimore. I ended up in Baltimore. After that, my ship was in the yards. I was going to my first command. I was going to my ship, and I got to see Jethro Tull, Rod Stewart, Billy Joel, and probably some other ones. I got to take stubs. I showed you guys the ticket stubs quite a few episodes back. I also seen Brand X downtown. I went downtown. Back in those days, it was you had to take a walk up over Federal Hill, and then you go downtown. And that's where I seen Brand X with Phil Collins. And then we wintered over in Maryland in the yards, and I remember it being really cold, and a lot of the people were on a barge where there was heat. But I was a cook, and I was cooking on board the ship, and we had to stay on the ship. It was freezing. I remember I had 2 or 3 blankets on, the old wool blankets. Oh my goodness. Winter in Maryland, in the yards. I remember we used to go up to Fells Point, Federal Hill, and we used to go up and party. We'd go across from the Baltimore Bethlehem Steel shipyard, and we'd go up the hill, Fells Point, and we'd walk up there, and we'd drink on the right side of the road going all the way up, and then we'd hit the other right-hand side of the road coming back down. we were young and drinking a lot of alcohol back in those days. And so that takes me to 1977. And I'm going to show you a few records that I was listening to back then in 1977. And if you're new to my show, this is the North Carolina Vinyl Picker Show, and I come on every Wednesday with a short video. And then on Sunday, I'll show my video that when I get my new finds for the week. And I've already picked up a couple this week. They came in the mail yesterday. It's going to be slim pickings this week. I don't plan on going out and getting too much new stuff this week. But I'll come up with something for this weekend show, so that way I can bring to the table and show you everybody out there. So if you enjoy my show every week, sub me up and hit the bell, and that way you'll know every time that Big Chief or North Carolina Vinyl Picker is here. He's here to show you what he picked up. So this album didn't make the top 10, but it very well could have. And when I was up in Juneau, Alaska back in May, went to a record store there. The wife stayed aboard the ship. She didn't want to walk that far, all the way downtown. So I hoofed it down there, and I called the guy, and I knew to see if he was going to be there, because it was like 2 hours before his shop was supposed to open. So he answered his phone. He said, "Come on down. I'm pricing some records." So I went down there. Didn't take me long to get downtown, and I went through all his records while I was there. And I stayed a couple hours. I had some time, so get off the ship for a few minutes, and I found this, and this is iRobot, Alan Parsons Project. Now this was really big in 1977, and I can remember listening to it when I was in Baltimore. I was dating some girl, and she lived in like tenement housing not too far from Fells Point. Probably met her in a bar. I don't remember. It's too long ago. But yeah, so this album here, this one here, it sounds fantastic. And I put my other copy of iRobot in my store. Oh, speaking of my store, if you're interested, just go to Discogs app on your phone. You type in, put in Discogs. It's an app for it, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. And then you'll find me and hundreds of other people, thousands of people, probably selling records. It's where I put all my vinyl records into for So in case when I go to a record show, I'll know what I got and what I can buy and what I already have. So I don't buy doubles and triples. And yeah, so go in there, Big Cheap Vinyl 57, and you'll find me there. There'll be a link down below, and then you can go in there and see what I have listed in my store. And I'm putting in a lot of CDs because I'm selling off most of my CDs, almost about all of my CDs. So yeah, so here you go. And this iRobot comes in at number 11 on my top 10 of 1977. Coming in at number 10. And this is an album that I thoroughly enjoyed. I used to listen to it all the time. And I can remember playing it on board my ship that I was on, my first ship I was on. ELO, Out of the Blue. I was all in on ELO. Yeah, double album. Great album, start to finish. Both albums are just fantastic. And they did the Xanadu soundtrack with Olivia too. Remember that one? Coming in at number 9. This is an album that got spun a lot. I remember listening to it. I remember going and seeing this tour. This is what he was playing when I went and saw him in Baltimore. And I went to the concert. I showed you the tickets. Like I said, I showed you the tickets not too long ago. The Jethro Tull, Songs from the Woods. That was a great tour, great show. And I thoroughly enjoyed going and seeing that. And I also, while I was there, I saw Rod Stewart show there too. The Hot Legs, he had the huge legs on the stage. Yeah, I saw him there too. And Billy Joel, I saw 52nd Street tour at that venue as well in Baltimore, or close to Baltimore, I guess it was. Coming in at number 8, Asia, Steely Dan. I remember playing the Royal Scam. I really enjoyed the Royal Scam. And my friend John up in New Jersey, he didn't like the album. And I remember buying it and playing it. And I was really into it. But and then this one here was the follow-up. Asia was the follow-up to the Royal Scam. So I was all in on Asia. I was all in. I liked Asia. I was all in on Steely Dan. I remember getting Can't Buy a Thrill, and some of the ones in between there. I don't remember if I owned those or not, but I remember Royal Scam, and then I remember Asia, and then of course the Gaucho after that, and then that was pretty much the end. Coming in at number 7. Now this album here, I can remember listening to since 1977. Since it came out, or 78, I was big into jazz fusion real early on. And I was into jazz fusion when I met John, my friend up in New Jersey. Before I went in the Navy, I was listening to jazz fusion. So I'm not sure. I think I've told this story before, but when I was in high school, I went over to a friend of mine's house. And I met these guys, and I don't remember where I met them, but and they were playing Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin. I think that was the spark that led me down this road of fusion that I've been following since I was like 16 or 17 years old. So I can remember listening to fusion just about before I was listening to prog. It was right around the same time, I'm sure. But my first bands I was listening to back in high school was ELP, Alice Cooper, David Bowie, Deep Purple. Those were the bands I was listening to. And then Genesis came later. And then all the rest of the Italian progressive bands, PFM, Bonco, and, Triumvirate, and all them other bands, them second tier bands, some people call. A lot of those bands came later, Starcastle, a lot of those American bands, Kansas, I saw Kansas. And so Al Di Meola. This is a promo. I can remember seeing Al Di Meola with my nephew a few years back in Orlando. But Elegant Gypsy is such a fantastic album. And it's got Racing a Devil on the Spanish Highway on here. And he did that live when we seen him in Orlando. He's just incredible. I also have the half-speed master of it. So I thought I'd break them both out and show you. But this is a must-have. If you love jazz fusion, you're gonna love this album right here, the Al Di Meola, Elegant Gypsy, coming in at number 7, coming in number 6. I believe I'm at number 6. Brand X, Rock and Roll. This is their second effort, and this is a fantastic album from start to finish. Probably my favorite of Brand X. It was probably, I do love the first album, but this album here, just Phil Collins, the band is so innovative, and it's just fantastic. And you can pick their albums up fairly cheap. You can get them for $5-7 a piece. This one here you hardly ever see out in the wild, but some of their later ones, you see them out quite often. But some people out there don't know that Phil Collins was in a jazz fusion band, and his Brand X. But he wasn't on all of them. He wasn't on Mask, and he wasn't on some of the later ones. When he left and went back to Genesis. Coming in number 5, another jazz fusion album. I remember listening to this album forever. I can't remember not listening to this album. Jean-Luc Ponty, Enigmatic Ocean. Of course, this is a nice promo. And yeah, so this is just fantastic album. This has Daryl Stallmer on here, who later went on to play with Genesis, and it has Alan Holdsworth on here, Steve Smith on drums. So if you love jazz fusion, this is the album for you right here. Let me count these babies up. That's a lost count. Did I lose count? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so coming in number 3, Genesis, Seconds Out promo. And this album here is another one, fantastic album. I saw this one live. I've seen them do this show twice at Madison Square Garden and also in Philly. Just a fantastic record, start to finish. It's a nice promo that I picked up. And I put my other copy in the store and it sold immediately, so I picked it up. So, yeah. Coming in number 3, Genesis, Seconds Out. Seconds Out being their second live album that was out. Coming in number 2, Pink Floyd, Animals. The follow-up to Wish You Were Here. Probably the last great Pink Floyd album. The Wall came after this, and that Wall was mirrored by the disco era. It's Roger Waters' hugely influenced album. So is this one. But The Wall is just taking it just a bit further. And not really a huge fan of The Wall. I think The Wall could have been like one album. I think it's a little bit bloated. But it tells a story anyway. So I guess it has to be 2 albums. But Animals is probably top 5 favorite of me from Pink Floyd. And just a great album from start to finish. And coming in at number 2. Coming in at number 1 is Going for the One. Yeah, Yes's return to form, so to speak. And just a fantastic album with Awaken on here, Turn of the Century, Parallels, and whatnot. So, yeah, just a lovely, lovely album. I seen the tour after this. I saw the Tormato tour. So the Tormato tour was the first time I got to see Yes. It was in the Round, and it was in Norfolk, I believe. When I went to, my ship finally went to Little Creek, and I was stationed in Little Creek, so I was able to see Yes there downtown on the Tormato tour in the Round. Or it could have been, I think it was up at the Hampton Coliseum, which is still like between Norfolk and Williamsburg. So, yeah, Going for the One. I didn't see this tour, but I was into Yes. I was listening to Yes because I remember listening to Tales and Relayer and stuff like that. So Yes was on my radar, but I didn't get to see them until Tormato. So that's all. That's my top 10 plus an extra. I'm sorry if I goofed it up. I had 5 and 5. I had 10. So there you go. That's all I got for this week. Coming in at 15 minutes. I'm going to get out of here so that way this can load up and be gone. And then I'll do my show coming up this Sunday. Looking forward to doing that. I'm going to have a few things to show you. And hopefully I'll get out and about between now and Sunday and find a few more records to show you on the show. So take care out there. I'll be seeing you soon. And support them troops if you can. And we'll be talking to you soon. North Carolina Vinyl Picker, I'm out.